So I had the team. Well, sometimes fate enters in. Basically, it's entered into my life twice. Fate. Whereas another word for it, really in my case, is serendipity. When something good happens that you don't expect to happen, but did happen. And a man by the name of William Herrah, Bill Herrah, of Reno and Lake Tahoe, had his casino operations there, driving through Idaho Falls in his white Ferrari. He was a car fanatic, and he saw these signs. So he phones his advertising agency in San Francisco, and they had a contingency in Reno to help service the count. But he calls the San Francisco main office, top guy, find out who Snar is in Idaho Falls. He's got the best signs I've ever seen in my life. So I get a phone call. And we worked out a date when they were going to come and see me. But I said to myself, I don't know who these people are. So I went to my grandfather, borrowed his nice red Buick. Buick was really something in those days, and drove down and saw and canvassed Reno. And I saw what the competition was, and I saw what Herrah's was, and I knew darn well that I could beat all of them. Just something that I just knew I could. So went back. Well, they flew in on a day that I didn't expect them to. They told us we're on our way now, and caught me a little bit. And I ran, but I was not able to get my grandfather's Buick. He had gone, and I had my pickup. Oh, brother. And so there were 4 of them, came in on a private airplane, saw me. I had overalls on, paint. First thing is, we'd like to meet your father. I said, well, he's out in the fields on a tractor. You don't want to meet him. It's me that you want to meet. And they were so disappointed. Now, in the matrix of this, I left word with my grandmother. I got to have my grandpa. I got to get that car. Well, that car was made available. And I was able to finally get that car. Drove him out, showed him the billboards. We ate at Jack's Chicken Inn. And what I thought was the biggest thing in Idaho Falls. And they were very non-committal. It was a very difficult day for me. Got out the airport. I said, where do I stand? They said, well, propose us a deal. Hopped in the plane and flew off. Because they knew darn well that everything was over with right there. So, but I saw opportunity. The biggest opportunity that I could even imagine. So created 5 billboards. They're all done with back braces, with poles, everything. They stood alone, exactly what the billboard would look from behind and from the front. They stood about an inch to a foot. So these things were about 40 inches high, something like that. But anyway, then I got a map of the western United States, put it on Upson board, and got push pins, colored ones, and for each design would have a certain color, and every road leading into Reno and Lake Tahoe, from the Pacific to the Mississippi, from Canada to from Mexico, every major road I had these signs. Now this was before the interstate system, by the way. And called them. I'm ready. to come and meet you. Took him by surprise. So the date was set. My mother made capes for me to put over these signs. And then I put a nice piece of white paper over the board that showed where the signs were. Get down there, and I'm telling you, that boardroom table was the biggest table I'd ever seen in my life. Mr. Snar, you're at this end. Mr. Herrah will be at that end. And they were lined up on each side. There were about 8 of them, 4 on each side. I had my signs in place, but capes over them so they couldn't see. Then I had the Upson board with the map. Got a little tripod to set that on. Brought that with me. And in walks Bill Herrah. Now he was, I would say, about 6'4". He was the tallest one of us all. He didn't smile. Came in and he just went like this. That was it. To me. Well, his president of the operation said, Mr. Herrah, this is Doug Snar. This is the person who is the Snar of Snar, right here. I'm 23 years of age. How foolish of me to put all these pins on all these highways that I knew nothing about. I'd never been on those highways. The idea that I thought was, what I'll do is put all these signs, they're not going to buy them, but if they just buy a few signs in the Idaho Falls, southern Idaho area, and maybe a little bit in northern Utah, maybe around Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and West Yellowstone, that's all. I'll really have knocked a home run, colossal home run. So by putting all the stuff in, they'll shrink it. In order to satisfy me, they'll take a few, and everybody will be happy. So how am I going to start this? I stood. I said, gentlemen, if you are not able to think bigger than any other casino operator in the state of Nevada, then I might as well just pick up and go back to Idaho Falls, because I'll be wasting your time and my time. But if you want to think big, I'll stay. And then the president again, not Bill Herrah. Herrah never said a word. The president said, please proceed. And so I discussed, about 10 minutes, the sophistries of outdoor advertising, which can be reduced down to a simple statement. If the sign isn't seen, the money is wasted. If the sign isn't remembered, the money is wasted. But these signs that you're going to see will be seen, and they will not, and the money will not be wasted. And the best investment in advertising is cost per thousand. What does it cost you to have 1,000 people see your advertisement? Now, in my case, this is the best deal out there because the cost per thousand is less than any other medium. Newspapers, radio, whatever it is. Television, frankly, was in its infant state in those days. But mine is worth more than that because my advertisements that I have designed for you will not only be seen, but they're going to be remembered. Well, about that time, they're sitting there looking at these capes. I could tell that. But then I unfolded the paper and said, there's the picture. All the roads leading to Reno, Lake Tahoe, from the Pacific to the Mississippi, from Canada to Mexico, they are all covered with signs. funneling everybody into your place. It didn't take them long to see that. That quick, they caught on. But then they started to stare at the capes. They're staring at those capes. They're going back and forth like this. And I stretched it out as much as I could, because I could feel that I was in control of this presentation. And they were just giving it away with the look on their face, except not Bill Herrah. Herrah never changed an expression. The rest of them did. They wanted to know what was underneath those capes. Now, what you're going to have is a vertical sign, not a horizontal sign. So you go down the highway and you see all these horizontal signs, then there's this vertical. And there you are in Nebraska someplace. And there you are. All these, and everything, Reno, Lake Tahoe, Reno, Lake Tahoe. Okay. Each one, fantastic. So I go over and I pull off that first cape. It was, you could just feel, they loved it. And I knew they loved it, because it was unlike anything they'd ever seen before on the highways. It was fresh, and it was new, and it was exciting, and it was something they'd say, Mom, look at that, look at that. The kids would love it. Everybody in that car would love it. And so I went through all those capes. And when I got through, they very, very excitedly asked me if I'd leave the room and go down the hallway, and the first door to your left is a little private room, because they wanted to talk in private. And when I get in that private room, it hits me. What have you done? You don't have a clue on how you're going to even build these signs. Don't worry about that, Doug. They're never going to buy those signs. They'll buy a few in Idaho, southern Idaho, and maybe a few in northern Utah, maybe Jackson Hole, little places like that, and maybe West Yellowstone at the most, maybe a little bit in Jackpot, Nevada. That's it. But I was in a state of anxiety. So after going through this and what will happen, let's assume now, how could I build these signs with this pickup truck? Well, I could maybe get another pickup, or maybe I could get a 1-tonner, or maybe a 1.5 tons. I was just going through all kinds of discussions within myself. Why didn't I think of this up front, Doug? You were not prepared. You're only prepared to sell the signs. You weren't prepared to build them. So then, what happened? They invited me back. Walked in the room. Herrah's expression was exactly the same. There was no give out or give way, no signals one way or the other, but I could tell that they were excited about this program. And the president spoke up and said, Mr. Schnarr, we want every single sign, all 200 signs, on that map, right exactly on the same highways and exactly where you have those pinpoints of those push pins. We want signs in those spots. How much and how soon can you get them built? Now, this was a state of real contradiction, a state within myself of real conflict. Because this could be the biggest opportunity of my life, and this could destroy me as a businessman. I had to have the right price, And I had to have the right timing and my foundation underneath me to arrive at those two conclusions was, without any question, insufficient. I was as green as grass. I just lacked experience. But I did have a lot of guts. A lot of guts. More guts than sense. That was the problem. So anyway, I go back in that room and I'm sitting there. You know, math has always been my weak spot. I'm an artist. I don't have these little machines that I can go like this and double multiply here and that. I was back to my fingers, you know, and with a pencil and a little piece of paper that I had with me. So I'd never been to these highways. I don't know what it's going to cost to have someone go get the location. Even if he can get the location, the cost of the motels and the food and everything involved. How long is it going to be gone? How long is it going to take to go get 200 locations in the western part of America? I didn't know. I just didn't know. All I knew was it was big. This is a big area. So, how am I going to get the poles? I'm going to haul the poles. This is going to take a big truck. On and on we go. Get these signs painted. Oh my gosh. Panama, we need 3 Panamas. We only got you and me. So anyway, oh boy. Well, let's see. Now, it cost me this much money to build the sign in Idaho Falls. Now, okay, I got that figured out pretty good, but about this much for 1 month's rent for years paying for the sign location. That's the formula that I've worked out. I don't know how that's going to hold up in the rest or the other parts of the nation. I don't know. So then I started. And I was thinking big fast. Got to double it here, Doug. You got to kind of double a little bit. You got to really think big now. Boy, you're a long ways away. Now you're clear down here in Southern California. Oh, my gosh sakes. You're down in Southern Arizona. Oh, why did you put that dot there? I mean, you could have moved that dot closer. You should have done it. Why did I put all these dots so far away? And I was going through all kinds of talk in myself. But I finally arrived at a figure. And I said, I know darn well that they're not going to buy these signs because I'm going to give them a figure that's going to be too much. And they're going to turn it down. So, I got up and I walked to the door. And as I walked through the doorway into that room, I heard a voice, and the voice was spirit to my spirit mind. And it said, double the price. And if ever I knew that something was true, I knew that was. And I doubled the price. And as soon as I doubled that price, they exploded, leaped up. And Bill Herrah went, and I had a deal. And they congratulated me. How soon? I said, well, I believe I can have it done in a year and a half. 18 months. Okay. Now with that, to simplify this, a contract was signed, one little piece of paper. the same piece of paper I used for one little dinky sign, in Idaho Falls. All these signs, 200 signs per to the map, and blah, blah, blah. Here's the price. And that was what I had. And I go back. But I have to get the money.